The tropics are about to get active for the Gulf Coast. I'm Mike Naso from the YouTube Tropical Update page with the latest on our tropics, and we do have an invest out there that is looking more and more foreboding as time goes by. Here's the water vapor imagery, and you can see that there are thunderstorms now booming off the coastlines of Louisiana and Mississippi all the way back to Florida and southern Georgia. This is all an area of low pressure that's expected to turn into a tropical depression or storm, and within the next 24 or 36 hours, we will likely have tropical storm and possibly even hurricane watches and warnings for the North Gulf Coast, in particular the state of Louisiana, not to mention the threat of heavy rainfall. Let's get into it. Here's the latest model guidance. You can see the spaghetti model plots, as everybody likes to call them, and you can see right now the system's moving towards the southwest, almost straight southwest, which if it continued that would be this line straight into Mexico in 5 days. Of course, it's not going to do that. It's going to eventually turn west-southwest back to the west and then loop back around. But the key is, where does that turn occur? And that's going to have implications not only on direct impacts and rainfall, but also how strong this system gets. Because we're looking at a situation where this has a pretty good environment for strengthening. If I'm being honest with you. Look at this wind shear map. How many years have I been doing these updates? You know, when you see blues and greens, that is favorable upper level winds for development, and you can see right over the North Gulf, very, very favorable upper level winds to support strengthening. And then of course the water temperatures, that high octane heat content, nothing to worry about up there at all. It's like bath water towards the North Gulf Coast. Beachgoers and residents along the swampy areas of Louisiana all the way back to the Florida Panhandle, which is still reeling from the impact of Michael. You guys know how hot those waters are right in the middle of July. And so if this develops, it could intensify, but how long it stays over water will be crucial to how strong it can get. Here's the GFS model. You can see it takes the system right into Louisiana, but it's stronger than it had been. Whenever you see these tight isobars, that means it's a strengthening area of low pressure. So the GFS, which was kind of broad and disorganized 24 hours ago, is now honing in like the other models that this thing's going to get cranking up right around 72 to 96 hours, which is about 3 to 4 days away. And we're seeing similar things on different models, like the Canadian model. You can see it loops it right into Louisiana. Develops, boom, right up northeast. Develops, boom, right up northeast. And then of course we have the European model, which is the scariest of all. This map from weathernerds.org, you can see the European wants to take the system more towards the west. Now the longer this thing is over water, especially if it's a fast developer, which it could be, we don't know yet, the stronger it's going to get. And you can see some of these are hurricanes or even strong hurricanes headed to Texas or even far western Louisiana. So we don't want it to drench New Orleans, but at the same time, if it stays over water, we're possibly looking at a strengthening hurricane. A hurricane more serious than it might be if it stayed more on an eastern track and was inland very quickly. If it stays west, it's over those very warm, very favorable conditions much longer and has time to strengthen into a more powerful storm. Regardless, heavy rainfall is probably going to be the main threat with this thing, and that's what we're worried about right now. Check out this map I got here. These are tide gauges in Louisiana. Note the flood gauges here. This one in red here, that's the Atchafalaya River. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. That's already above flood stage. You got one up here, the Mississippi River at Red River Landing. That's already above flood stage. Flood stage is 48 feet. Right now it's 59. So this is going to be a big problem here for Louisiana. Remember, it doesn't have to be a strong storm to rain. Tropical Storm Allison back in 2001, that sat around Houston. I think it dumped 42 inches of rain or something like that. My memory's getting worse as I get older, guys. But yeah, that was a very, very horrific flood event, and it went right along the Gulf Coast. Now, this will probably be a stronger system than Allison was, so maybe it can tighten up more, but again, it's kind of a double bag. Do you want a loose rainstorm that's weaker, or do you want a smaller storm with less rain, but one that could be a strong hurricane? So either way, Louisiana, you guys need to be on the alert Okay, especially if you live in low-lying areas for flooding, be listening to local emergency officials, and we'll be able to zero in on this as time goes by. There's the radar. Again, there is this ominous turning here. There's definitely trophy low pressure area that's headed towards those boiling, scalding hot hurricane waters. They're ripe for hurricanes. You got to have at least 80 degrees. Some of these water temperatures, forget about it. 84, 85, 86. That's like bath water. And when these storms get over it in a good environment, they could take off. And that's what we're worried could happen with this one. And again, the track and intensity still uncertain. We don't have a named storm yet, but if it does get named, by the way, it's the second storm of the year. It would be the B named storm. This year, it would be Barry. So we will wait and see. You know, ironically, when I was like 12, 13 years old, we had a tropical storm Barry that looped around and hit the panhandle, and it was a rather mundane tropical storm, so we could hope that this Barry would be similar, but I have a feeling this one might be a little bit more of a problem for us. Some very severe weather, it looks like, at least heavy rainfall in southern Georgia right now. Another good band smushing through middle of Alabama. And of course, down there near areas of Pascagoula and Pass Christian and Buras, Louisiana. You guys are getting some rainfall headed your way there. Florida, you look pretty good right now. The Carolinas and Tennessee, not too bad. I'm actually headed on a vacation to Myrtle Beach here tonight. So I will continue to keep you updated via the Atlantic Ocean. I'll be on the opposite side. But again, we'll see what happens in the Gulf of Mexico. Anybody in the Gulf Coast needs to be making those preparations, watching things, and seeing what happens with this system. The Air Force will be flying out into it probably tomorrow and certainly the next day, and we'll be able to see what happens as time goes on. I'm Mike Naso, and I will talk to you guys next time with more on the tropics.